So hello everybody, welcome to today's Fireside Chat. In today's discussion, it's titled Going Global, Existing and Emerging Global Opportunities for Indian Sellers. I am Johnny Steele, the Vice President of Marketing at Payoneer, and I'm extremely honored to have with us a guest, Abhijit Kamra, who's a Director of Global Trade Amazon. He's been at Amazon for over a decade now and a true expert and leader in Indian exporting and Indian e-commerce. Abhijit, welcome to the Fireside Chat.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. Great being here. I think Payoneer forums are among the most fun, and I really look forward to them, given how well you engage with the SMB community and how the SMB community is excited about this. So thank you for having me here.
Well, it's great having you. It's a real honor, as I said. And Indian e-commerce is doing extremely well. I think the numbers I saw were 70,000 sellers exporting from India already, and an export target of $10 billion of Make in India goods by 2025. Things sound like they're going pretty well for the local market.
Absolutely. I think in India, we have among the most vibrant SMB communities in the world, extremely entrepreneurial, very, very enterprising. You give them the right opportunity, they grab it with both hands and build large businesses. So I think that's what's playing out. It's a lot of SMBs who are building great global businesses while being based out of India.
Well, that's always been my impression from having visited India almost every year. I think every year for about 5 or 6 years in a row up until the pandemic. I look forward to coming back, but always the Indian merchants make an extremely great impression on me. And I've been around the world and met many others. So you're in a great place. So let's get started with just a couple of icebreaker questions to introduce today's Fireside Chat. So the first one was, what was the most recent item you bought on Amazon?
I would have to say hand sanitizers and face masks. I think the world's getting. I think we're putting the pandemic behind us in India, but I think it's still important that all of us continue to take some preventive measures. So I think that's always top of my shopping list. Just make sure that's stocked up at home. So.
That's a smart move. And whilst we're talking briefly about surviving through the pandemic, what tricks did you use in the recent lengthy lockdown in order to pass the time at home?
I think it took a little bit of adjustment, like with everybody else, because the routine that you've had for many, many years is now currently is suddenly shaken up, right? And then you need to pivot, and you're taking care of all of these new priorities, health and welfare of your family, your teams, helping the SMB community. So, but I think one of the things that I think worked out well was, so I would save about 2 hours of commute time, right? I started channelizing that towards having a good workout routine, reading up. So I think consequently, I feel good about the progress I've made on my health goals, the progress I've made on my reading. So I think those are a couple of things I look back fondly on.
Some good tips there. Use every minute of your day, especially the ones that you gain. And final ice-breaking question. We're just on the back of Singles Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday around the corner. We had Prime Day a little bit earlier on. There seem to be a lot of these special days in the e-commerce calendar. And my question is, do you think there's room for additional days that are going to enter the calendar? And if you could add a shopping day, when would it be and what would it mark?
I think it's always fun to have shopping days, right? Because it really helps our seller community. It gives them that business spike which they're looking forward to. So I think it's always good. Interestingly, we did start one in India recently. It's called the Small Business Day, and the whole idea is to keep our small businesses front and center, and all the interesting products that they're manufacturing or sourcing, and how can customers see all of those products and ultimately help these small businesses, help their employees and the livelihoods they support. So I think that's something that I feel very passionately about, and I think it's been received very well, both by our customers and our selling community.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's such a strong message because consumers want to support small businesses. It's not only that small businesses want to succeed. So it seems like good timing to launch such a day.
Correct. And I think, again, I think it just goes back to the beauty of e-commerce and technology always has been you connect supply and demand efficiently, right? And a a lot of it also is about introducing and then sensitizing the customer community to this theme that how their purchasing choices is having such a large and profound impact on so many livelihoods, so many businesses. So, and I completely concur with you. Customers is always excited to help small businesses scale.
So let's talk a little bit about the post-COVID ecosystem, and it really depends where you look in the world, but certainly Indian merchants are looking cross-border, are looking at markets in Europe and US, where I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say it's post-COVID, but it's emerging from COVID, and lockdowns have been lifted. It looks less likely that those countries will return to lockdowns. The people are going into stores and into the malls once again. But there was certainly an acceleration of digitalization during that period. And my question is, what sort of consumer trends have you observed that you believe are likely to stay for the long term?
Got it. Thanks. If I take a step back, Johnny, I think there's certain very interesting macro changes that one could witness both on the consumer side and on the seller side. On the consumer side, I think it's just adoption of digital commerce channels, because I think a lot of it historically has been about convenience, better prices, but this time it also became a necessity as more and more consumers across the world depended on e-commerce to help them with their needs because they couldn't step out. So I feel that once people got exposed to the benefits of shopping online, the power of expansive selection, sharper pricing, convenience, I think that's one trend that's here to stay. Even on the SMB and the seller community, I feel this has allowed businesses to see the benefits of diversification. So a lot of businesses historically, let's say they were an offline business, whether it's in cross-border or the domestic context, but now because they were able to experience e-commerce because it was a little bit of a necessity, they're seeing the power of it. They're seeing the benefit of it. They're seeing the benefit of diversification, the benefit of having exposure to multiple currencies, multiple countries. Because in the pandemic, like you rightly said, there were different points of time when different parts of the world were a little bit more impacted than other parts of the world. So when US was shut down, the offline world, India and Europe were still open. When India and Europe got impacted, US started bouncing back. So consequently, all the businesses from India or sellers from India who had exposure to different markets through global selling were able to sustain their business depending on which market was doing well at which point. So I feel that's also allowed SMBs to realize that building e-commerce-led cross-border businesses is very sustainable and also necessary as we move forward in the post-pandemic world. The third piece is, I feel, around consumer shopping preferences on categories. There's obviously a higher degree of sensitization about wellness, right? And I think it's very consistent across the world where consumers are becoming more conscious about how are they taking care of their health, their family's health. So this whole space of natural wellness, which India does really well at because there's just so many interesting products. The space about health and well-being, I think that's a trend that's going to stay. Similarly, while we are bouncing back from the pandemic, there is also a subtle but marked shift on corporates around the world on how they're thinking about working from home, working from office. But there is a larger conversation about more people making hybrid choices, which means that there are certain needs which otherwise were not as prevalent are coming now to the fore. For example, one of the trends we saw during the pandemic and that continues to sustain is that now when parents are spending more time with their children at home, they are more curious and conscious about what kind of toys are available, right? Are there STEM toys, for example, that could help? It makes it fun. It also helps educate your young ones. So we're seeing this large trend of toys being exported from India. So I just feel that I think the pandemic in a large way has changed and influenced a lot of these macro behaviors which are here to stay and which will in large ways impact the businesses that SMBs are building on Amazon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I certainly feel that we are now spending a lot more time at home, even once we've emerged from the pandemic. And the point you made about home and setting yourself up to be able to work in a hybrid mode, and even playing with the kids. I think is the brand Play Shifu, the Indian brand that's made it pretty big globally and already exporting to many countries around the world. And I think it's an impressive thing to see that Indian brands are making it as recognized brands in the US market and other markets, British market and others. So let's talk a little bit about next year, about 2022. It's only around the corner. You've spoken at length about the role of e-commerce and technology in bridging demand and supply gaps. So my question is, what do you think are the significant opportunities that have emerged or likely to emerge next year for sellers from India? Are there certain other categories or other opportunities for these sellers that if they can jump onto an opportunity, they can see even greater growth than they've experienced to date?
Got it. Again, I think thanks. Great question, Johnny. I'll break it into two parts. One is obviously the categories they could focus on. The second is it's also about ways of operating, and we already see a trend towards it. But I just want to crystallize it so that more and more of our sellers can benefit from it. And a few of those trends are: number one is using data extensively. Because I think one of the beauties of e-commerce and technology is that you've got actionable data that's available. So using market intelligence, which is available on the Amazon platform around product market fit, pricing, I feel that leads to higher success rates, and we've got a lot of sellers who are benefiting from it. So I feel use of market intelligence is going to be important. Number two, I think being aware of all the capabilities that a platform like Amazon offers. So your point of sale and your point of marketing have converged. How do you market more efficiently? How do you relay the story behind your product more efficiently? How do you do product innovation a little bit more efficiently? So I think that's the second large trend which is manifesting and if done well would really help businesses. The third I feel is going to be efficiency in supply chains because I think the external supply chain environment has brought about the importance of supply chain front and center. So as sellers, how are you designing your supply chains more efficiently in conjunction with partners like Amazon or your logistics providers? So I think those are three behaviors that we're seeing which are going to help everybody, like the cross-section of sellers, agnostic of the category they operate in. From a category lens standpoint, again, I think the macro trends are going to be hybrid working from home. So what do customers need to set their homes up? Wellness. The third is, I think it's also a bounce back of discretionary spending, like where customers are now shopping things that they didn't shop for in the last year and a half because nobody was stepping out. So I feel there's going to be apparel, jewelry, travel gear. I think those things are going to see a bounce back. So I think those are going to be interesting categories for our sellers to think about.
Yeah, I think that last one of apparel is a good one because many of us have been wearing the same hoodies and t-shirts for a good part of 2 years. Now's the time to refresh the wardrobe, start to look good as we get out more. So great tips there. I also really connected with the point about data, using data effectively. Really important. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask is around cross-border trade globally, and there's a massive opportunity for an economy as big as India and for Indian entrepreneurs. In your experience, what needs to be done to fulfill this cross-border opportunity, the potential for Indian merchants to go global?
Recently, we talked about, like in one of the other conversations, I talked about something called as Exports 2.0. And that's just a thinking to say that maybe as we're moving forward, there's an opportunity for Indian businesses and our economy to pivot a little bit from a cross-border standpoint to really catalyze our export growth. And all the ingredients are there from an Indian economy standpoint and the Indian manufacturing community standpoint. And the 5 pillars that were, the first has to be market access. And it's both ways. One is how can people like Amazon help the seller community get seamless market access to customers in over 200 countries. But at the same time, how can we partner with the ecosystem, with the government, for example, to drive awareness on the seller side? It is a very large country. And a lot of our manufacturing clusters, our businesses are based out of tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. If exports need to become a large phenomena, it needs to be very inclusive. So while we are making the effort of making products vernacular, low bandwidth, all of those things, we also need to partner with the government to drive awareness across the length and breadth of the country. The second pivot was market intelligence and using data. I think we talked about it, so I'm going to move forward. The third would be efficient supply chains. Again, we touched it. The fourth one is payments and cross-border payments specifically, because it can be a very complicated subject unless you have a reliable partner that you can work with, and that's where I think partners like Payoneer come in, because that allows merchants to take care of one very important dimension of their business without having to worry about it, and then also drawing efficiency from this channel. Uh, the last one, and which I feel is very powerful, is never in the history of our country has it been easier to build global brands. Right, the entry barrier for global brands was always very high. You needed to have a large global footprint and a lot of money to build a global brand. Today, any entrepreneur who desires and dreams to build a global brand can do it and realize it online and through e-commerce. So I feel that allows you to break the cost value trade-off and start capturing the intellectual property and the value that comes with that. And I feel that's so powerful. So I would feel that those are five things which, if done well, could help truly catalyze exports from India.
Great tips, thank you. So for my final question, I've heard a little bit about the Amazon Global Selling Propel Accelerator program. So how Amazon is helping businesses to use their made in India products and sell it to a global audience. Can you share a few more details about the program, and how do you think existing and upcoming Indian sellers can benefit from programs such as yours?
Sure, Johnny. You're very up to speed on what we're doing, though. So this is something we launched recently, and it was very, very successful. So Propel Accelerator, the thought there is that building brands requires a little bit of extra and specific support. So Propel Accelerator was, how can we partner with all the right entities in the ecosystem, whether it's the government, whether it's venture capitalists, fulfillment service providers, payment service providers, to create a one-stop program which would help accelerate the journey of direct-to-consumer brands from India. So the first version of it is what we launched in 2021. Hugely successful. 6 months. So we received over 500 entries. Very, very good entries. Very difficult to pick the top 10. We picked the top 10, and then there was an intensive 6-month program where we worked with all of these partners to help equip these brands to succeed globally. So that's been the gist of Propel, and I think we're very excited about how it played out and then what we want to do with it over the next few years.
That's really, really exciting. I think, consumer trends are also in the direction of people are looking for more unique products and something different. And when you've got opportunities such as what you're offering for Indian merchants to be able to build that global brand and become recognized in other countries, it gives those consumers in those other markets the opportunity to be able to find something in their home and in their lives, which is a little bit different from what they would be able to purchase in other places. So it sounds you sound, just to conclude, pretty optimistic about the coming year or two.
Extremely, Johnny. It's one of those perfect opportunities. It's a huge opportunity. There's a load of innovation that needs to be done in the way, and once we're done, it's going to impact the communities in India, the seller communities, the manufacturer communities, and even the customers in a very meaningful way. So it's an amazing opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Abhijit. It's been great talking to you today. Payoneer and Amazon will continue to work together to help these Indian merchants to be even more successful globally. I wish you and the rest of the Amazon team a very successful peak season holiday selling season and a really successful 2022. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. Thanks for having me here.